One question I get a lot is, what is a mediator and what do they do? In my line of work, I'm used to seeing lots of confusion about the difference between a mediator, an arbitrator, a facilitator, a judge, or a negotiator. In this video, I'm going to clear things up by telling you what a mediator is, what they do, and what are their key qualities. I'm Bob Bordone. I'm a senior fellow at Harvard Law School and the founder and former director of Harvard Law School's Negotiation and Mediation Clinic. I mediate conflicts local and global, and I've been writing and teaching on mediation for more than 20 years. So, in short, a mediator is someone who acts as a disinterested third party in a dispute or conflict, helping the parties in the conflict to resolve their disputes. Their job is to assist and to guide the parties to come to their own resolution. Importantly, mediators have no power to decide an outcome or impose a result. Their main role is to help the parties focus on the important issues that they need to resolve. In this way, mediators differ from judges who are empowered to make decisions by the government. They also differ from arbitrators who are hired by the parties themselves to render decisions. One of the most attractive aspects of mediation over arbitration or over court is that in a mediation, the parties themselves come to their own resolution with the help of a mediator.
Good luck, though.
So now that you know what a mediator is, you might be asking, how is it that they help the parties come to a resolution of their dispute? Among the most important skills a mediator brings to their role is their ability to listen actively to the parties. Active listening involves asking questions to learn about what's really important to the parties, because often they're stuck on opposing positions, but underlying those positions are deeper interests. Mediators can help parties move past hardline positions to get at those underlying interests. And when they get at those underlying interests, the parties are more empowered to come to a solution to the problem. So imagine a dispute between the owners of a closely held tech company that's escalated to the point where the business may be in danger of imploding. One of the two parties, let's say, has been the creative developer of the company's products, while the other has largely provided the capital and maybe some business management and oversight skills. At issue is whether a new product that the creative developer principal created belongs to the company or to the developer himself. Critical to this is the fact that 2 years earlier, the creative principal offered this idea to his business partner, but the financial principal declined, saying the product was, quote, too esoteric for the market. Now, on the one hand, this seems like a question simply of ownership of the new product, and mediating that conflict is challenging as each person sees it really differently.
So try to keep up.
On the other hand, a mediator will use active listening skills to elicit a whole set of other interests. For example, both parties may generally feel unappreciated, unheard, or unvalued.
No, I think I just need moral support.
In the case of the partner who developed the product, he may have felt that his idea was rejected earlier, and now that it's turned out to be a good idea, his business partner wants a cut without ever having put anything at risk.
Well, that is not happening.
But the partner who's provided the financial capital may feel betrayed that his business partner spent time developing a project that the company declined to do, instead of spending time developing products that the company wanted to do. In addition, both sides might want an apology.
What?
Or improved communication, or appreciation of the skills they bring to the table that the other hasn't valued. So a good mediator uses listening skills to elicit these interests. Now, as part of the listening, the mediator will also acknowledge the strong emotions of the various parties to help them feel heard and also to enable them to problem solve with each other.
Okay, this shouldn't be so hard.
An important role that mediators bring to a mediation, though, is also remaining impartial. And this goes back to the earlier idea that I discussed, where mediators are not decision makers, they're not evaluators. For a mediator to be effective, they need to empathize and they need to handle strong feelings without agreeing to either party's view. Similarly, they help the parties organize and articulate their interests without weighing in on whether the interests are legitimate or wise or fair.
That's impossible.
Once the mediator has helped the parties articulate the issues for the mediation and their interests with respect to those issues, the mediators then help the parties craft solutions or options for meeting those interests. In this way, a mediator is adept at getting the parties to brainstorm solutions with each other. Using our example, a mediator might say,
"Listen, I can see both of you have struggled at communicating with each other, and I wonder what ideas do you have for how you can improve your communication with each other over time?"
Another important attribute that a mediator brings is in designing or orchestrating the process by which the parties will communicate to work out their differences. At the beginning, a mediator might set out and explain some ground rules to ensure that all the parties have a chance to be heard without interruption and without personal attack.
Eat glass.
In addition, a mediator might choose to conduct the mediation with all the parties in the room together, or perhaps by having opposing parties in different rooms and shuttling back and forth between them. A really common approach is to have the parties in the room, but to allow for occasional private sessions where the mediator may meet with one party and then later with the other. It's often the case that the mediator is not the master of the substance of the issues, but should be the master of the process. Now, as someone who has mediated various disputes for more than 20 years, I can tell you mediation is a challenging and rewarding career. You often have the opportunity to work with amazing people at some of the worst moments in their life, moments when they're feeling conflict or are hurting or feeling lost or angry, betrayed and confused.
I am suffering.
And this is why I often think of mediation as a healing profession.
I love my job. I love my job. I love my job.
So if you were to ask me what I think is a key attribute of some of the better mediators that I know, it's having a real sense of humility. So what I mean by this is not that they are timid or afraid to assert the important role that they're playing in the process. Rather, they own their role. They know that they control the process, but in so doing, they create a space for the parties to work out their differences. So what the mediator does, and the mediator is aware of, is that the wisdom of the parties will provide the answer, not the cleverness or the sleight of hand from the mediator. Let me give you an example of where managing the process but staying away from the solution proved really successful for me. So some years ago, I was brought in to work with a group that was really in conflict. It was largely a long-term employee and a long-term boss. And there were years of tension and history between the two of them. But the real breaking point was around the creation of a brand new program and who was going to lead it, what the decision-making authority would be, and who would be allowed to hire and fire within this new program.
I have lots of skills that you don't have.
As I got into this, it was clear that there were all sorts of complex substantive issues to be addressed. And it was really relatively easy for me to come up with lots of solutions that I thought would meet the interests of both parties. But at some level, I had a sense that even if we did that, I would just be back 6 months later or a year later working on a new set of problems. And so part of what I was able to do through listening is identify that the real issue wasn't a dispute over mostly the substantive questions, but a long-standing sense of low trust about the goodwill of each side in this long-term working relationship. And so what our mediation became was a series of conversations where each side would talk about some examples where they had felt betrayed or hurt, describe why they felt that way, and then the other person was able to describe what their intentions were. And as we developed, we saw this pattern of misunderstanding, of intentions being missed and then bad intentionalities being placed on the other. And so what we came up with wasn't so much a structure for the new program, but rather a different way that the parties could communicate with each other. They set up protocols where every time one of them did something that was experienced as lacking in trust, they would agree to have a conversation with each other. The end result was that their relationship, and particularly the trust between them, improved, which in turn improved their ability to problem solve with each other. You know, part of the structure of this mediation at the end was that the parties were able to call upon me whenever they got stuck. And in the early days, they called on me pretty frequently. I'm happy to say I haven't heard from them in years. But for me, this was an example of really creating the space for them to have the real conversation that they really needed to have. So for more on mediation, I have another video for you. It's called, What Does It Take to Be a Mediator? Thanks for hanging out, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss out on more awesome content. I'm Bob Bordone, and let's keep mediating and negotiating. Hey, you're gonna bitch anyway? This is like vitamins for your brain. Keep watching.